Aloha everyone, welcome to the Strip Down to Love podcast video where the essence of love comes from within. I am your host, Jennifer. Thank you so much for being here with me and listening to the Strip Down to Love podcast video in this very moment. I appreciate it so much. As always, I want you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in and out. Imagine the softest white light coming down and embracing your body. It is gentle, it is kind. Take another deep breath in and out. You can pause here and do this practice as many times as you need to and continue when you are ready. So now that you have done this, I want you to say, I am here to just be. I am here to remember. I am safe and I am ready to continue. I urge you to remember that you are valued. You are an investment. By investing and sharing with you, I invest in myself. And we, together, give back to humanity. You deserve to remember and really enjoy life. So, let's strip down to love. Today is Strip Down to Love Knowledge is Power edition. Today, we will discuss why knowledge is power, why it is important to seek, and why knowledge is your power in order to make beneficial decisions for your life. The literal definition of knowledge: skilled thought, an abundance of information or facts in a specific subject, educated in a concise and thoughtful manner. Let's discuss the importance of seeking knowledge. Knowledge is important because it will help you in your day-to-day situations. Just like I talked about in episode 1, this podcast video was made for you to create a toolbox, a library of information to make your life great, to be able to easily maneuver through situations and exponentially increase great moments. It's like sitting down with yourself and your library and applying the best tool to learn and absorb the information provided to you by the universe. Not every decision will be sound, but it may be the best considering the circumstances. Remember, there are levels and steps to improvement. Seeking knowledge is a way for you to feel empowered. No one educated you but you. This is your information. Even if someone gave you the information, you are open to the information. It's yours to keep and do anything you choose. You can overcome challenges or situations that may have been tough, but the second time around, will it be as difficult? I think not. Additionally, challenge doesn't even have to be labeled as quote-unquote challenge anymore in my book. You can call it a soul teaching moment. With knowledge, you can walk hand in hand with the lesson and take it all in, willfully and happily. Upgrade? I don't necessarily want to bring up the example of COVID and the many spiraling, bubbling, and simmering theories, but I guess at this point, it's the best example. So, for example, with COVID, there are many theories of thought, sides, avenues one can take, right? You can literally go down any avenue from start to trying to figure out how and why a lab-grown organism got released. And fast forward to the concern about vaccines and the constant change of which medication is the best when and if you get COVID, right? So, with that said, if you didn't seek knowledge, how would you know which route within the COVID experience is the best for you? How would you know which quote unquote side is best for you? You wouldn't, right? You just feel ill prepared and maybe led down a path that didn't fit your morals, your lifestyle, your beliefs. With knowledge, you have choices. With knowledge, you are well equipped. With knowledge, you will be able to open doors for yourself you didn't even dream were possible. I recommend staying open to information. Staying open allows you to attract soul-teaching moments. And this is another way to gather knowledge, to gather information. Even if you think, I'm afraid, I'm not educated enough to be here in a specific situation or be a part of a specific opportunity that has just been presented to you. That's exactly why you are there, is to learn. I want to remind you that even if you may think that you are undereducated in a specific moment or opportunity that is presented to you, you are there for a reason. You are there to gather information, and that is a beautiful to me. I mean, how you're able to attract a lesson, that means that your energy is ready to absorb it and ready to be one with it. All it takes is maybe one sentence of knowledge to display your skill that can spark interest in someone that will be able to supplement your life with an opportunity that can change your life. Knowledge is power. It's your power to create your toolbox so you can be well equipped for any situation. Like I spoke about earlier, you will be able to walk hand in hand with opportunities rather than be afraid of them and use self-sabotage methods to evade them. I do want to express to you that being knowledgeable is a very good look. Being knowledgeable about current events is a good look. It makes you poised, focused, and a commodity. It's the way in which you use or wear your knowledge. I like to think of it as an outfit. It's the way you wear your knowledge that matters as well. Wear it lovingly and humbly and share it with grace. I am a true believer in formal and informal education, and my hope one day is that emotional intelligence and understanding how to eloquently move through feelings will become formal education. Today, I meet with a friend, a companion to my life story of whom I've known for over 25 years. We have a long, amazing history filled with softness and light. We both watched each other grow over the years, and I am so excited to have her here. She is a teacher, but as always, I will allow the guests to introduce themselves. I thought it would be fitting to bring her on because of her occupation and because she is also a mother, and to discuss how having an abundance of knowledge can double increase your chance of success with decision making. Moreover, I wanted to bring her on to showcase the importance of educating the next up and coming generation, our young ones, our children. Because, like I said, I feel that it is important for people to be formally educated, and my hope is one day emotional intelligence will be taught in a formal setting. All right, everyone. So Kehau has finally made it to the Strip Down to Love studio, and we are so happy to have her here today. She will introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself, and then we will get to the pertinent questions of today's topic, which is knowledge is power.
Aloha my kakou. I'm Kehau Pi'io here. Jen knew me as Kehau Crawford when we were in elementary school.
Yes.
But I've known Jen for I think like over 25 years.
Yes.
From kindergarten, and then we went middle school, high school together, and then still now one of my dear friends.
Yeah.
I live on Oahu now, and I have 2 children, 2 boys, 3 and 6-year-old. And I married my high school sweetheart, and we live in Waimanalo. So I'm a teacher and a mom.
Yes. Yes, she is. All right, are you ready for the first question?
Yes.
All right. In your eyes, do you think that there is a difference between the words knowledge and education?
Knowledge and education. So I had to really think about this, because even as my profession as a teacher, this should be an easy question. And I think knowledge is information that you can seek and get. And then education kind of is like this institute that sometimes the story of that institute in Hawaii is not always a good one. And they used education in Hawaii to kind of take away some of like our Hawaiian identity. And I think that's important to kind of set the tone of when we talk about education in Hawaii.
Yes. Kind of transmuted it.
Yeah. And I think that's something that like emotionally we all have been dealing with, like intergenerational trauma, and you know, from our parents we've seen it.
Yes.
And I think we're still kind of trying to heal that trauma today.
Ooh, you guys, this is so good. Okay.
I hope so. She didn't know what she's getting when she invited me, but here we are.
Okay, question number 2. In general, why do you feel knowledge and or being educated is important?
So I asked my son this question. I said, what do you think, Kuya? What's the most important thing about learning and knowing information? And he goes, well, so when someone asks you a question, then you can answer the question. I said, okay, that's right on. 6-year-old answer, perfect. And then he goes, wait. I think too, so that when you grow up and you're a makua and you're a parent, then you know how to like get a job and take care of people. And I said, oh, that was really, you know, honest from his heart, of why it's important to know things. But really for me, I think I want to like cultivate the love of learning in young students.
Yes.
And then even as adults, like just keep growing and learning, you know? So I think that's the most important kind of part of your journey is learning and growing, yeah.
Yeah, because I always, throughout the whole Strip Down to Love episodes, it's always about improvement, learning and gathering information so that you can just move through situations and make life great, like how I always say. So yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, be a better you talked about like that inner journey, and I think that's sometimes we think of knowledge as like, oh, I searched it in Google and now it's in my brain, but like what are you going to do with that information,
Right.
to kind of change and grow.
Yes. So number 3, as a parent, why do you think it's important for your children to be knowledgeable?
As a parent, I learned a lot as I went, and I think that's kind of like my ideology on learning is kind of like makahana ka'ike. They are doing it and learning at the same time, and giving them those experiences is going to help them grow as a learner. And I don't necessarily want them to be like the smartest or know the most information, but be able to kind of like access information when needed, and know how to act in situations, how to work hard, how to be passionate. Those are things that like are important, to cultivate learners.
Passion. You said something about working and learning at the same time. So as I talked about in previous to this in the beginning of the episode, was that even if an opportunity presents yourself and you're like, oh, I'm not well equipped for this situation, but like she said, you are in the situation, like I said, to learn, and this could be an opportunity that where you find your passion, where you build that and cultivate it. So yeah, awesome. So number 4, how do you informally teach them things about the world, them meaning her children?
So I think giving them experiences is one of the best ways to like informally kind of teach without like sit down and get out your book and now we're gonna read. But taking them to like places and spaces that kind of hold that power and letting them experience it for themselves.
Yes.
And when you build that relationship over time, right, like it's not just one time you go plenty times. You go in the morning, afternoon, and then they get to see kind of like the changes in the weather and in the Aina, and that's kind of where they get to build that themselves, because really I want them to be able to like lead their learning. And it's hard as a mom sometimes to like step out of the way and say like, okay, I gotta let them do it themselves, especially my little one. If you try to do it for him, it's not gonna go so well. But if like, okay, a couple times after you fall, then oh no, I want help, mommy. Okay, so I have to remember that though as a makua too, is like letting them make the mistakes and learn is more powerful than me doing it for them.
Yes, and for people who are not in Hawaii, makua means parent.
Yes.
Did we define that? Did we define that?
No, I don't think we talked about. Makua Parent.
Yeah. So sorry. It's like it's natural for us, but I just wanted to let everyone know. And so going back to that about how she takes her children to the same area, to the same spot, beach or mountain, at different times of the day, and throughout the year, so that for me, so it can become natural. It can be, and like she said, it can steer another person's learning. And I think in one of my episodes, I think it was Defining Anger episode, where I talked about how you don't have to, rush into something, because then you could get overwhelmed and it doesn't become natural. But when you revisit it, maybe a task or a place, then it becomes one with you, natural.
Yeah.
So
like the first time you go to Aloha, you're like, oh, it's muddy and I gotta do what? And we see it as kids visit for the first time, right? And my kids who have been there how many times, they're just like, shirt off, running around like wild hooligans. So but we see it like as you come and become more familiar, then you kind of let your guard down and you let a little bit more learning happen, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, for people who don't know, Alo'i is a taro patch. So in Old Hawaii, this is how we used to gather our food. Our mountain food was to create huge plots of taro, and she's specifically talking about watered land taro, not dry land taro.
Yeah.
And I have seen where her children are in the lo'i, and there's just so much fun energy. So that what I'm trying to say is that they learn and they have fun at the same time. And you know, when you're with nature, you are, I feel like, picking up little spiritual gems. Like it's just here and there, and it grounds you and centers you.
Grounds you. And I think that you said something that kind of reminded me of, like, that's indigenous knowledge, you know, like when our hands are in the lepo, in the dirt, and in the Aina, then we're learning and doing those same practices that were passed down, and it's not something you can just like open in a book and read about it. Like you have to go do it and, like, you know, be about it, as I'm sure Jen would say, like, go do the thing, you know.
Yeah. And just a little side note, when you are moving around the dirt, you are breaking up stagnant energy that is becoming upcycled and is becoming higher vibration. So when other people are like our ancestors, and so if people don't know yet, we are Hawaiian.
Sorry, that's so funny. Okay, that should have been a disclaimer. So
we are Hawaiian. We graduated from a Hawaiian private school here in Hawaii, and so it's that is flows within our blood, and our ancestors worked this land just like how we did. We did that as well, and so I guess what I'm trying to say is that when you put energy into something, it just doesn't disappear. And so when our young generation is going there and mulling up the dirt and quote unquote tilling it, you know, then they're learning and they're gathering information that I feel anyway that our ancestors left there.
Definitely. And I feel like there's this, like, maybe we didn't get to do that as much as our parents wanted us to, because they were still trying to, you know, and I feel like that disconnect now becomes like connected again. And we don't have to, like, it's not a formal lesson, and not, you know, it's like, let's just go and be in the space and see what we learn from there.
Yes. So, as a teacher, why do you feel education is important? Why do you feel knowledge is instrumental in the generation that is coming up?
You kind of touched on it already, that really we only hold space on Earth for a blip of time. We're borrowing Earth and that space. And that when we're gone, what we've left is then going to take on that Kuleana responsibility. And I think there's been a shift in education in Hawaii to kind of cultivate that native Hawaiian, you know, and their identity and their connection to Aina and Hawaii. You see in, like, our immersion schools, right, like Punana Leo, and you see in our charter schools, and even in the regular DOE system, there's things that weren't there when we were, you know, and I'm hopeful when I see those seeds planted, that'll just only help and strengthen their identity as Hawaiians and Kanaka to be here on this Aina.
Yes. There was something that you said. So yeah, we're here planting seeds. And this is a lot of what the Strip Down to Love podcast video is about planting seeds within you to grow and to simmer. So, and obviously gathering knowledge is just one way that you can do that. Okay, number 6. Do you feel that children should learn how to work through feelings in an educational setting alongside learning math, science, and English?
Yes, like hard, yes. there's this big like social emotional kind of growth that we're trying to cultivate in our young learners, and it's really challenging at times because I have to look at myself first and say like, can I express myself in a positive way besides just like I'm mad, I'm yelling because I'm mad. So I really have to think about myself first, an example that I am in showing positive ways to feel your feelings, kind of deal with your emotions instead of like sweeping things under the rug, which is
acknowledging them.
Acknowledging, and then I'm kind of sitting in it. It's okay to be mad and sad.
Yes.
But then letting people know that so that we can help you, that you can't just sit there without asking for help,
Yes.
So yeah, we do a lot of like mindfulness and growth mindset, like how can I be better at this, and it's kind of like you're taking that little bit of almost like a counseling approach to it, but really if they don't feel good inside, they're not going to learn. If they don't feel good about who they are, they're not going to be able to get new knowledge and grow. So that's kind of has to be one of like the foundational pieces of as a teacher, as a Kumu, making sure they feel good about who they are and having that self-esteem to deal with emotions and then learn new things.
That's right, because even if when you're in, I guess you could say, a lower level energy, nothing until you are able to break free from that, whether it be acknowledging your feelings, or someone helping you through it, you won't be able to necessarily absorb the lesson that the universe is trying to teach you, just because it's something that's on your mind constantly, and you want to feel better. And that was one of the biggest things why I feel that emotional intelligence should be shared, taught in an educational, institutional, like she had said, setting, because did we get that in high school?
I know, I was trying to think I was trying to think about that right now. Like I don't remember at a young age that how to like deal with conflict, or if things don't go your way, like how do you and I think our parents were the ones who kind of maybe give us some slaps, or I don't know, but I don't think there was this big platform to share that on, so I think now there's opportunity for that.
Right. It's about and not about emotional intelligence at this point. It's about like leading by example. Like for her, she's a teacher, she has to lead by example, and and I feel like a lot of people have the ability to lead by example, but in a non-scolding manner, and that's where acknowledgement or acknowledging your feelings comes in, where you're like, okay, what is this feeling trying to tell me? And sometimes we are able to quickly get the lesson, absorb it, divulge it, and then be like, move on. But sometimes, other lessons are a little bit harder. But yeah, okay. Okay, last and final question. What is your hope for humanity blended with being knowledgeable, and you can choose something that is from your heart?
Yeah, that was the heaviest question on there, I think, because that humanity part is like, okay, now I'm like, what am I leaving? I think that if we can just kind of know, that being knowledgeable, but know that everybody just wants to feel loved. Yes. And everybody just wants to feel like they're a part of a family or a system, and that if we acknowledge that in a lot of people we see and just our daily lives, I think it would just be a better place to like live and learn and go to school and work. And I think the pandemic brought out a lot of feelings for me that I was always a very like love to go to work, love my life, like everything was awesome, and not that it wasn't awesome in the pandemic, it just made me take a good hard look at my life. And things that were easy for me to process before, where it was challenging, and I had to really go back to like loving and having gratitude for myself first. So
Yes.
just knowing that everybody out there is loved, and you should be knowing that in yourself too, that like your self-worth, you're worth it. So
Yes.
invest in yourself, like my friend said in her lovely podcast, and then in turn the world will be better because everybody is loving and taking care of themselves and each other.
Yes. And I think it's that is very beautiful. And we are so happy that you came and she shared her mana'o or her information with us. And so thank you for being here. Love you.
Strip down to love. Mahalo.
Okay, now that we learned why collecting knowledge is so very important and that we are here creating a toolbox of knowledge, a library, and that being knowledgeable is a good look. It's a very good look. Secondly, we heard from my friend Kehau and her views on the importance of education and formal and informal and a lot of other really good stuff that she had to share with us. I guess it's time to close. So now that the Strip Down to Love podcast is coming to an end, take a deep breath in and out. Seal up all of that information that you learned here on the Strip Down to Love podcast video. I want you to remember that you are valued and you are an investment. Your success is important to me. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Strip Down to Love podcast video. Until next time.